Well, good day, viewers. Today we have a 2015 Nissan Rogue in here with a MIL on. I think I worked on this a few months ago and it had an MIL on at the time. Yellow triangles because I had the door open. So I predict it's going to have an evap problem. Maybe a vent solenoid. Let's throw the scanner on it and see what it comes up with. Okay, so we've loaded the vehicle history. We're going to do a code scan after it IDs. I think I can do this running. And if I recall, these are slow. 142,000 kilometers. Yeah, this is slow, so I'm going to pick up when we get to the end of this recording. Okay, so we're done the network scan. We got a P0447 for a vent control valve. We've got a couple of communication codes in the network, but we're not going to be concerned about those for today. This vehicle was a repaired wreck at one time, and there's no other complaints with the vehicle other than the check engine light is on. So we're going to have a look at what causes the P0447. Let's use the troubleshooter in the snap-on scan tool, see what it has to say about P0447. Code tips P0447. Open or short in the vent control valve circuit. Possible causes: faulty vent control valve, harness is open, electrical problem. Well, let's have a look at the vent control. So I'm going to put it up on the hoist. Okay, so I've got the vehicle up in the air and I've looked at the vent solenoid, which is in the right rear corner behind the rear wheel. And it looks a bit rusty. What I'm going to do is clear the codes. I've got the key on, engine not running. And I'll give it a few seconds and read the codes again and see if it comes back. No, it doesn't. Let's try commanding the vent solenoid on. It might be under actuator tests. Volume control. Fuel tank temperature sensor. Nope. Special function maybe. Evap system close. That might do it. Do not use compressed air or high pressure pump. What did it say about this test procedure? It says this function is used for detecting evaporate vapor leak point to locate a leak. Do not exceed, use air pressure, yeah, okay, do not exceed 4.12 kilopascals, 0.6 psi. Okay, ambient temperature is above 0 Celsius. Do not exceed. Ignition on, ambient temperature is above 0, no vacuum or high pressure fuel tank temp is more than 0 within 10 minutes after starting the evap system close. Trying to execute evap system close under the conditions except above, system will discontinue it. Okay, so the engine's got to be running. I'm curious as to whether or not the code has come back. Let's try it again. Yes, it did return. So I'm going to clear it one more time, and I'm going to disconnect the solenoid and put a Noid light in place of the solenoid. So I'm going to clear the codes one more time, and I've got a Noid light plugged into the connector for the vent solenoid, and I'm going to try that special function. Maybe it'll try to command it on. Got a helper back there to tell me if yeah, so the process of doing this commanded it on, but the light came on. I'll show you that. So there's where the solenoid is. I've removed it. There's a little release tab on this bracket. You push it in and you rotate it counterclockwise, and the solenoid comes off. So the circuit is good. I imagine there's an open in the vent solenoid. I'll show you what it looks like. So as you can see, it's been attacked by the salt. I suspect if we put an ohmmeter across this thing, we'll read an open circuit. It's probably somewhere between 10 and 25 ohms. But we'll give it a check just for a length of time it takes. So I got my ohmmeter test leads connected across the solenoid, and the 5 vertical arrows indicate it's over 400 ohms. So the solenoid is definitely failed, and the electrical circuit tests okay, so we're going to get a new solenoid for this thing. So I was right, the spec is about 10 ohms according to the service literature. So there's that solenoid. I temporarily put it back on so that you can see how to remove it. There's a hose here. You can pull that hose off with your fingers. And you need to reach up here like this and push on this tab. Push it in, and at the same time, I'm going to be able to turn it up like so, about 45 degrees, and then it just pulls straight out. That's it. That's all there is to changing it. There's an O-ring seal on it, and we're going to put the new one in shortly. So here's the replacement part. It's from Napa. There's the Eklund part number, or the Napa part number, and we're going to install it. Okay, so we got to reach in here, install this with the, you can't see anything because my hand's in the way. But I'll take it out of the way just as soon as I can get it in. Put dielectric grease on the O-ring seal. There it goes. Okay, once you get it into that spot, then you just rotate it down till it locks in place. That's it. Put dielectric grease on the connector. Make sure that that snaps in and locks in place. And then put the hose back on. That just goes to the vent. Now this car did have a small leak code previously in history when it was here last time, so we're going to run a purge and seal test if we can. Okay, I'm going to try to run the evap system close test. Exploring these tests. Okay, let's continue. Open the vacuum cut valve, bypass valve. This is not going to run it. Never use compressed air, ambient temperature. When trying to execute under the condition, except, let's see what happens. Okay, I better read. So it pays to read the instructions. We need to use a regulated system pressure tester to do this test. And it says positive pressure is delivered to the evaporator system through the evaporator service port. So you need a low pressure regulator and nitrogen to do this. And it's done with the engine not running. And I'm not set up to do this. So all I can do now is advise the customer that it's going to have to go through a couple of drive cycles, provided the fuel level in the tank is okay. And if it passes, it'll leave the light off. If it fails, it's going to set an evap code. So I can't do this. The last time it was in here, it did have, if I go back in history, these are all from today. Yeah, P0447, very small leak detected. Now, it's possible that that vent solenoid was sticking and causing that problem, but unfortunately, this system does not appear to allow for a purge and seal test like you can perform on a GM or a Ford. or to manually control the system, other than when you do this system close test, it does control it. So I'm going to try it and make sure the code is gone. So we know that it turns on the vent solenoid when you do this. It's going to abort the test because it's out of range. And make sure that there's no codes in the system. Did that not clear? Let's clear it. I thought I cleared the code before. I'll have to go back and watch my own video. Let's make sure it's gone. Or maybe I did it with it running and they don't allow the code clearing while it's running. Now let's do this special function again. Evap system close test. It's going to abort. Out of range. Maybe it's failing because it's out of range. But that code that it had was an electrical fault code. I'm confused now myself. So I'm looking at some data in the engine control computer, and it shows the fuel level at 2.3 volts and the evap system pressure at 3.92 volts. Let's just clear that code again. I wonder if it's expecting to see a pressure in the tank change because of you're supposed to have the service port connected to a regulated pressure. Clear codes. Did I clear the codes? Continue. Let's go back and look at data for a second. Because that system test may be expecting to see a positive pressure build up in the tank and it's not seeing it, and that could be setting a code. Because it's not out of range right now. Out of range would be less than 0.25 or greater than 4.75. Okay. Let's go back and check codes again. Maybe I didn't get that plugged in. So I'm a dummy. I didn't have the connector completely seated. I thought I heard it click and I didn't look at it close enough. So the code kept coming back because it's an electrical fault. I just wish they'd offer a bypass cold soak timer test or something like that. Clear codes. Yes. Continue. Let's look at data again, give it a chance to set a code. Some systems take 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, exit. Let's read codes. Yeah, see, I didn't have the connector seated. Well, what I'm going to do is take it for a road test and see if it'll, in the data list here, it'll tell me, I think it was this switch data 2 that told me the status of the monitor. No, it was switch status 1. If it had run and passed. But I could also do that in generic functions. Generic functions. Onboard monitored systems. No, that's not what I want. I want readiness monitors. That's what I want, readiness monitors. Mode 6 is the last test results. So this is going to say evap system has not completed a test. Not complete right here, as is the catalyst and the fuel system. But we'll take it for a road test and see what happens. So during the road test, I monitored the purge control valve and the system pressure in the tank. And it was definitely running a test. I went about 8 kilometers. So I'm just going to exit out. And I think it was in this switch 1 signals whether or not it had run the test or not. It still says not complete. Let's check it in readiness monitors as well. Generic functions, readiness monitors. It takes typically a lot longer drive cycle and a cooling off period. So I'm just going to advise the customer that they have to drive it for several days. Evap system not supported. This is reporting everything incorrectly. Glitch in the matrix here. Let's try this. Everything not supported. Well, it did show it properly a few minutes ago. I'll try and reload the software. Alright, as you can see, the evap system is not complete. Catalyst is complete. O2 sensor heater is complete. Misfire is complete, but several other tests have not met the criteria for running the test, and one of those is the evap system. So I'm just going to advise the customer he's got to drive it for 3 or 4 days, and if the MIL returns, we have to investigate it further.